I'm Anil Kumar. Welcome to my series on percent and percent change. This particular video can actually change your life. If you're taking a multiple choice test paper for entrance to an excellent university or for some good job. You can see that we have taken 4 questions here which involves percentages, and that too like 6 2 by 3%, 11 1 over 9%, 116 2 over 3%, 37.5%. Now imagine if you have to do all this without calculator. Most of you may get lost or will become extremely difficult to provide a solution within a minute or such time, which is expected when you are solving a multiple choice question, right? We will learn strategies and tricks in this particular video to tackle this problem and to understand how to practice and solve such questions within a minute. That's the whole idea, right? So we'll begin with the basic concept first. We'll first try to write percent as a fraction. So this is our beginning, right? So when I say something is 10%, what do I mean? I mean it is 10 out of 100, and in fractions I could write this as 1 over 10. Okay. Now if I say 5%, right, we know 5% is half of 10. We could get the result from there also, which is 1 over 20, correct? Or you could do again the same calculation, saying 5 over 100 and simplify this to write 1 over 20. So likewise, you could convert percent to fractions. Well, you can also do the reverse, that is converting fractions to percent. So if I say it is 3 over 4 and I need to convert this fraction to percent, I only have to multiply by 100. So if I multiply by 100, I get the number equivalent in percent. So dividing, you get 25, and that gives you 75%. So percent and fractions can be converted either way. Perfect. Now what we notice here is that solving problems related to percent change is better when you convert them to fractions. To give you an example, let us say we say a number increased by, let's say 5%. Let's keep it very simple. A number increased by 5% is equal to 63, right? Find the number. Let us say we have a very simple problem saying a number increased by 5% is equal to 63. Find the number. How will you do it? Well, to solve such a question, you will say let the number be x, and when you increase by 5%, it becomes 0.05. That is 5 over 100 times x, and that is equal to 63. So you have an equation, and you will say 1.05x is equal to 63. That means x is equal to 63 divided by 1.05. Imagine if you have to do all this without calculator. It is extremely difficult. So this simple example actually becomes very complicated, right? Now if I convert 5% to fraction, if I say 5% is 1 over 20. Now what I'm saying here, that 5% of 20 is 1, right? So when I say a number increased by 5%, if the number is 20, increased by 5% means 1 for 20. So that number 20 will become 21, right? So from 20, if a number becomes 21, that is increased by 5%. You get an idea, right? So now what we are saying here is that this particular increase by 1 is because is equal to 63, right? So that's what we're trying to say. So we say this 21 corresponds to the number 63. That increases 63. So for each number, what is the increase? It will be 63 divided by 21, which is that there will be an increase of 3. So if that is the case, what is going to be the increase for 20? So for 20, the increase will be 20 times 3, right? So the original number is 60, right? So you got a gist of it. So you could actually do these calculations without calculator. So the whole idea here is to get away from our number system and algebra to the logic behind percent and fractions to solve them. Perfect. So I hope you get the idea of what we are going to experience in this video, right? So now here let me share with you a list of few fractions which have been converted to percent. So if we have a number 1, that means 100%. Half represents 50%. 1 over 3 is 33. 1 over 3%. 1 over 4 is 25%. To get the percent, what do? We just multiply these fractions by 100, right? So when I do fractions times 100, we get the value in percent. That is the whole idea, right? So 1 over 6 times 100, if you try to solve, you'll get 16 2 over 3. Let us see how. So we have 1 over 6. That means multiplying by 100, we are actually dividing 100 by 6, correct? So if you divide 100 by 6, it goes one time, you get 6. 4 is the remainder. Bring down 0, 40, right? So you can take 6 times, 36, and then again you get 4. So 4 is your remainder. So what you really get here is 16 whole and 4 over 6. Now this 4 over 6 can be simplified and written as 2 over 3, just as we have mentioned in this particular column. So all these values have been calculated doing this, and this is not, but once you do it and once you start working with your fractions converted to percent, the things become simpler. More you work, more you get used to. You know, for 16 2 by 3%, the fraction related is 1 over 6. For 12.5%, it is 1 over 8. Correct? 1 over 4 is 25%. Half of this is 12.5. 1 over 8. So likewise, you could kind of memorize such things while practicing, right? So most of them, once you look at it a couple of times, you will understand. Perfect. So this is the first step. In the first step, what you need to understand is to relate fractions as percent and percent as fractions. How do you do it? Just by practice. So 1 over 3 is same as dividing 100 by 3. You get 33, one remainder, dividing by 3. Correct? So likewise, you can do it. 1 over 9 means 100 divided by 9. So 9 times 11 is 99. 1 is the remainder. 1 over 9. Got it? 8 times 12 is 96. You get 4 over 8, which can be simplified as 1 over 2. So that's how you get 12.5. Likewise, you can just work with these fractions, convert to percent as the first exercise. So I'd like you to spend some time on this exercise so that you could solve difficult questions on percent very easily. Now, before getting into the problems which we talked about, let's take some simple examples to get ready with our percent and fractions concepts. So I've taken up a simple question here. A number increased by 40% is 21. Find the number. So how are you going to do it? Well, if we use our algebra, so we'll use two methods here. One, we'll do by normal method of algebra, and second, we'll develop a concept of using fractions, right? So when I say a number increased by 40% is 21, we say let the number be x. So when we say when number increased by 40%, that means x plus 40% 40 over 100, x is 21. Correct? So that's what we get. Now, that means that you could write this as taking common denominator, 100x plus 40x over 100 is equal to 21. You could cross multiply and we get here 140x equals to 2100, or x is equal to 2100 divided by 140. Correct? So these are the steps which you need to do to solve such a question. Now we can divide by 7. So 7 times 2 is 14, and that you get 30. And then dividing 30 by 2, you do get 15 as the value of x. So you say x is equal to 15. So these are the steps involved to solve such a question. Correct? Now, if we try to do the method of fractions, it is kind of like this. Let us convert what is 40% as fraction. This is what we'll try to see first. 40% means 40 over 100, correct? So 40 over 100 basically means you can divide this by 2, so you get 2 over 5. So we are saying 40% as a fraction, so 40% is same as 2 over 5. With practice, you will immediately write 40% as 2 over 5. So the number here is, when we say a number increased by 40% is 21, so now see, try to observe this number 2 over 5 itself. So it means that if you take 5 as your original number, if this is your original number, in that case 2 is increased by, this is changed by 40%. In this case it is increased. So we'll say increased by 40% is actually 2, the numerator. So numerator shows the change, right? That is the percent, correct? So 2. So for 5, the increase is by 2. You get the idea, right? So that is what we're trying to see. So after increase, the number becomes 7, right? So increase by 2. So that means if we have the original number as 5, so plus 40% will actually give you the outcome, the final number, as 5 plus 2, 7. You get the idea, right? So a 40% increase on 5 will result into 7. Is that concept clear, right? So that is what this fraction is telling you. If 5 is your original number, then 2 denotes increase by 40%, right? In this case, increase, right? And we are saying that this increase by 40% is 21. We are saying this 7 is basically 21. So we say this is increased by 7 units. So 7 units is 21. That means 1 unit is how much? Each is 21 over 7, or 3 units. Now, if each is 3 units, then the original number should become what? 5 times 3, which is 15. Do you see how we get the same answer, 15? Without much calculations. So, once you get into the practice of this, you can easily write 40% as 2 over 5. 2 over 5 means that if the number is 5, then 40% change is number 2. We are talking about increase, that means increase means you add, right? So when you add 2 to 5, you get your number 7. Now you are given that this increase is actually 21. So 7 units is 21, 1 unit is 21 divided by 7, which is 3. Now if each unit is 3, then the original number should be 5 times 3, 15. Do you get the idea? So that is the basic concept with which we are going to work. Let me take another example, and then I think it will be absolutely clear. This time we have taken one with decrease. A number decreased by 12.5% is 42. A number decreased, right? So we are looking for a bigger number as the answer. So our answer has to be bigger than 42. So greater than 42. A number decreased by 12.5%. So let's do it with our fraction conversion. So if I say 12.5% in fractions, what does it mean? What is 12.5% in fractions? It is equal to 1 over 8, right? 12.5% is 1 over 8. So how do you get it? Well, one is you need to practice the table which I showed to you earlier. That will help you to get immediate answer. The other way is, of course, you could convert this 12.5 as 12 times 2 is 24, and then you get 25 over 2, right? Percent, correct? So 25 over 2 means 25 over 2, 100, right? So that is because of the percent. And now this goes 8 times, so you get 1 over 8. So it is not that difficult. You're getting my idea, right? So convert this to improper fractions, divide by 100. That is what percent means. And you get your equivalent fraction. Okay, now let's look into the question. So first step here is to get equivalent fraction of the percent. Now we are saying decrease. That means we are going to decrease the number. Now it says that if the original number is 8, then after decrease of 12.5%, let me write 12.5% now, the number becomes what? It becomes 42, right? But here we know on 8, after decrease by 12.5%, the number changes by 1. So this actually gives you change by. So if it is changed by 1, 8 becomes 7. You get the idea, right? 8 becomes 7. Decrease, right? That minus is for decrease, since we are saying decrease. 8 becomes 7. 8 minus 1. Now the question says that this number actually becomes 42. Now how do you get 42 from 7? You have to multiply this by 6. So you multiply this also by 6 and you get 48. So we get our answer that the original number is 48. See how easy the calculation is. So even converting this improper fraction and the mixed numbers into as percent into fractions is not very difficult, right? And then once you get that, you can easily solve the equation by simple logic. Perfect? Okay, now let's look into our questions. Question number 1 was, if 6 over 3% of a number is subtracted from itself, then the result is 210. Find the original number. So first step here is to convert 6 over 3% into fractions. Let's see how to do it, right? So we'll go kind of slow to understand. This is not very easy to begin with. So 6 over 3 means 6 times 3 is 18 plus 2 is 20. So we get 20 over 3%. So percent means divide by 100. So it becomes 20 over 300, correct? So when you divide this, what do you get? You get this as equal to 1 over 15. Clear? So I hope these steps are absolutely clear. So the first step is to get your equivalent fraction. Now, we'll work with this fraction. When we say 6 by 3%, so the question is, if 6 by 3% of a number is subtracted from itself, okay, so we know the operation is being done on the fraction 1 over 15. Now subtracted means take away, so we'll take away, right? So we'll do 15 minus 1. 15 is the original number. What do we get? We get 14 as the result. So what we are trying to say here is, if 6 2 by 3% of a number is subtracted from itself, result is 210. Well, if we start with 15, let's say the original number is 15, then 6 2 by 3% reduction results into 14. Do you get the idea? But in the question, we are saying that it is actually 210. It is actually 210, right? Not 14. So how do you get 210 from 14? You can divide 210 by 14, right? So you get your result. So you could do it on the side, 210 divided by 14, right? So 7 times 2, 7 times 30, it is 15, right? So we know it is times 15. So that means the original number should have been 15 times 15, which is 225. So our answer is 225. Does it make sense to you? So what we did here was we converted 6 2 over 3% into fraction, which is 1 over 15. 1 over 15 means that if the original number is 15, the change is 1. Now, since it was subtracted, number decreases. So, if you decrease 1 from 15, you get 14. Now we are saying that 14 units are equivalent to 210. So, each unit is 210 divided by 14, which is 15 units. So, we need to multiply the original number by 15 to get our number. Do you get the idea? So that is how we are going to solve this. Let's look into another question, right? Question number 2 here is, if 11 1 over 9% of a number is added to itself, then the result is 900, right? So it is increasing. Find the original number. Again, first step. We are given 11 1 over 9%. That really means 99 plus 1, 100 over 9%. That means 100 over 900, right? Which means 1 over 9. So the equivalent fraction for the given percentage is 1 over 9. Perfect. Now it says when the number is added, right? So we're talking about the number 1 over 9. So when you add, what do you get? You get 9 plus 1 as equals to 10. Correct? So if the number is 9, then it becomes 10. We'll call this as 10 units. We are given, actually, it is 900. So actually, this is 900. That means each unit is how much? 900 divided by 10 is 9. So we need to multiply by 90, multiply by 90 to get 900. So I should multiply this also by 90 to get my result. So when I times this by 90, 9 times 9 is 81, I get 810. So my original number is 810. You get the idea, right? So our answer is, the original number is 810. When you increase this by 11 1 over 9%, it becomes 900. You can approximate 10% is 81, that brings you closer to 900, correct? Does it make sense to you? So I hope now you're getting it, right? So let's move on and take another question. This time the question is slightly different. We are saying if 16 is added to a number, then the number becomes that percent, 116 2 over 3% of itself. Find the number. So we are adding 16 and it becomes this percent of itself. So first step is to think about 16 2 over 3% as a fraction. So well, this is kind of 100% plus 16 2 over 3%, right? So it is kind of like this. Now what is 16 2 over 3%? Well, 16 2 over 3% is 1 over 6. So this is 1, 1% is 1. 16 2 over 3, you could actually convert like this. 16 times 3 is 48, plus 2 is 50. So we get 50 over 300. Do you see that? So that means you get 1 over 6 here, correct? So when you divide, you get 1 over 6. Or this percent is 6 plus 1, 7 over 6. So that is how you can convert a very complex percent given as mixed number into fraction. So I hope this step is absolutely clear, right? So that is how you do this conversion. Now the idea here is, if 16 is added to the number, then the number becomes that much. So what we are saying here is the fraction is 7 over 6. So the original number here is 6. It becomes 7, right? That is the new number. It becomes 7. That means this number increases by 1. Correct? This number increases by 1, right? That is our 116 2 over 3% change. But actually, how much we increase the number by? We increase the number by 16. That is to say, this 6 should also be multiplied by 16 to get our number. 6 times 6 is 36, and 6 times 1, 6 plus 3 is 36, 6, right? So 6 times 6 is 36, and 3 there, so it's 96, right? So the original number should be 96. Does make sense to you? So what we did here was we converted 116 2 over 3% as fraction. 100% plus 16 2 over 3%, which is 1 plus 1 over 6, 7 over 6. Now a change of 116 2 over 3% means 6 will become 7. But we added 16, not 1. So that means each unit is 16 times. So original number is 16 times. So denominator always is the original number. Remember that. Perfect. So I hope the concept is getting clearer as we move along. You can always go back to the video and then see these questions once again to understand the concept. Now here is the last question. Question number 4 is, if length of a rectangle is increased by 37.5% and its width is decreased by 20%, find the percentage change in area. So this time there are two dimensions, length and width, both are changing. So let's work with the length first. So length is increased by, so we are adding increased by 37.5%. So how can you convert 37.5% into fractions? That is first challenge. So 2 times 7 is 14. So you get 1 there, 7, 6, and so 74 plus 1 is 75. So this is same as 75 over 2%. Is it okay? Which you could write as 75 over 200. Perfect. And dividing by 25, you get this as 3 over 8. So we could convert 37.5% as 3 over 8. Now we are saying here is that if the length of the rectangle is increased by this much and its width, so we have increased this length, so the length becomes, instead of 8, it becomes 8 plus 3, which is 11. Do you see that? So that becomes the increased length. Now let's look into the second part, which is width is decreased by 20%. So width is decreased by 20%, right? Now as fractions, 20% is 20 over 100, which really means it is 1 over 5. Now when we say 1 over 5 and we are trying to decrease means negative, we'll take away 1 from 5, so the change to 1 is 4, right? So that becomes our final. So what we have here is, you can think like this. The original dimension for length and width is 8 and 5. And for the changed, it is 11 and 4. Correct? So when you multiply them, you get your area. So area here, original, is 40 and the changed is 44. You need to find percentage change in area. So which will be how much? So that is going to be 44 minus 40 over the original area of 40 times 100. Clear? So that means it is 4 over 40 times 100, or it is 10%, right? So it is 10%. So the change is 10%. Do you see how easily, with the help of equivalent fractions, we could solve this problem without calculator? That is kind of very important. So if you're really seriously, if you're looking into solving questions without calculator with such complicated fractional increases, I think this is the method you should adopt to. And I'll strongly recommend that you can take some time and understand how to convert fractions to percent and percent to fractions. So this part of the video, which kind of I skipped in between, is very important. If you kind of remember these type of things, which you can by practice, now you know many things from this table, correct? 1 over 8 is 12.5%. We just use this value. 1 over 5 is 20%, right? So many such values. 1 over 6 is 16.2 over 3%. So many of these values, as you work, will be in your mind. So the time which we took to convert percent to fraction will be reduced. Once you reduce this time, then the working out is very, very fast. You could actually solve such questions within less than a minute, as many who are practicing with this method are doing at present. So I hope that makes sense. Feel free to write your comments, share your views and your questions. If you like and subscribe to my videos, that'd be great. Thanks for watching and all the best.